Hello. It's me, Katana from the hit Roblox game Fighting, back at it again in Bombline. I'm finally doing the weapons guide I promised in my first guide video. I did say this in my last video. I'm still going to make my in-depth weapons guide, and I'm going to be doing that next. For real this time, I promise. And I have delivered. I don't have much else to say, so this is the amateur's guide to Bombline's weapons. Let's get started. And would you guys look at that, I spelled the title right this time. For one, you can get different knives from skin cases like in Counter-Strike. These provide no statistical advantage. Can't say I have a favorite though because my mine is defaulting to the Karambit and I also don't have any. It would be really cool if I could get the pixel skin still. Please. And like I said in my first video, you'll run faster when holding it. Now into the weapons you'll be mainly using, unless if you really like knifing people. There are 8 different types of primaries: assault rifles, battle rifles, carbines, light machine guns, submachine guns, sniper rifles, shotguns, and other. For secondaries, there's pistols, hand cannons, and projectile weapons. I'll be more or less rapid firing through all these because there's quite a bit. Onto the primaries first, and starting with the assault rifles. They are your jack of all trades sort of guns. They're good at close to mid-range combat and have quite sustainable fire rates. The M4A1, my favorite in this class, is arguably the most well-balanced assault rifle. Good fire rate, good damage, and controllable recoil. Do keep in mind this doesn't mean it's good in every situation. It'll be outclassed with the AUG and snipers at longer ranges. The 9mm conversion will turn this gun into an SMG and make it more close quarters oriented. It also removes the stock, which why would you do that? The 458 SOCOM conversion turns it into a DMR. Scope, lower magazine capacity, but higher damage. Just keep in mind that it's still full auto. Hey, so editing the Sir Pineapple here. So after I wrote this script, I made a thread in the Discord just asking what people's favorite and least favorite weapons are, and I think I'm the only person who likes the M4. It can also get an EOTech or a 100 round drum. Speaking of the AUG, it has a slower fire rate compared to the M4, but it has a scope by default and looks kinda goofy with the short barrel. It's more suited for longer ranges compared to the M4. And like the M4, it can also get a 9mm conversion. It can also get an EOTech or 50 round drum. The AKM is slower firing, but hits harder. It can also get an EOTech or a 75 round drum. The A762 is a bit similar to the AKM, except it can't get an EOTech, and also has a DMR variant, which will give it a scope and reduce the ammo capacity to 10. Unlike the 458 SOCOM M4, it's semi-auto only. The AKS-74U has the same fire rate as the AKM, but deals less damage per shot, and is more close quarters oriented. The G36 has a slower fire rate compared to the M4, but is more mid-range oriented like it. And just like in real life, it doesn't melt after dumping a couple megs. The FAMAS, called the FRB in this game, is the only burst-only primary. It's good at mid-ranges like the other assault rifles. Just remember you have to keep clicking for more sustained fire. And also remember it only has 25 rounds in a mag instead of 30. It can also come with a suppressor. The AN-94 is the most unique assault rifle and arguably the most unique weapon in the whole game. Instead of firing full auto or burst, it said nah, I'ma do my own thing, and it decided to do both. The first 2 rounds fired are a hyperburst and the rest being a slower full auto. I always tap fire with this thing to take advantage of said hyperburst. Just watch your ammo consumption when doing this. You'll run out faster than you might think. Battle rifles are heavier hitting than assault rifles, but slower firing and having higher recoil and lower ammo capacity. The SCAR 17 is what I consider your standard battle rifle. Steady rate of fire, high recoil, and high damage. It can also get an EOTech and is one of 3 guns that can get a thermal sight. The Shack 12 does even more damage but has much higher recoil. It can get a suppressor or an ACOG. And finally, the FAL is basically just a semi-auto SCAR 17. It can fire faster than the other battle rifles just as long as you click fast enough, so use that to your advantage. It has no variants. Carbines, or Carbines, I've heard both pronunciations, is the most inconsistent of all the weapons classes. There's a semi-auto, lever action, and bolt action. There are no variants for any of these. The SKS is a semi-auto one, 20 round capacity, and a moderate fire rate. I've had some good plays with this one. The Winchester 1894 is the only lever action rifle in the whole game. It has this cool equip animation, is good at medium to long ranges if you aim right, and is great for channeling your inner cowboy or cowgirl. And finally, the Delisle, and I checked, I'm pronouncing that right. It's this weird integrally suppressed bolt action carbine from World War II that, may I remind you, takes a pistol round. The gun is very quiet and can kill in 2 shots, but that's where the benefits end. 7 round capacity and not nearly the same killing potential as the AWM. I also suck at this thing. Now into the light machine guns, which there are 3. These guns are made for sustained fire and have the ammo count for it. The M249 is my favorite LMG in the whole game. Sporting a 120 round belt of 5.56, of course you'll be shredding people with it. This thing is amazing at close to mid ranges. It can gain an EOTech, a thermal sight, or a suppressor, which I cannot imagine will be in good shape after having hundreds of rounds put through it. The incendiary ammo variant replaces the belt with a 30 round magazine. This variant is also quite rare, and I think the rarest in the whole game, but don't quote me on that. The MG34 fires faster than the M249 but has a 75 round belt. Watch your ammo. The MG36 has the same fire rate as its smaller brother the G36, has a 100 round drum, and has a permanently attached scope. Also, when using this, you're giving it more service life than it has in real life. An important reminder when using these: you have more bullets than they do. Use them. Now into the submachine guns, of which there are 4. These are your dedicated close quarters guns. The Uzi is the slowest firing in the game, and its combat potential can suffer as a result. Aim for headshots or you'll die. It can have a red dot or a suppressor. The MP5 has a fast fire rate that's basically standard for SMGs. It can have a 100-round drum or be the MP5 SD integrally suppressed variant. The PP19 Bison has a slower fire rate but makes up for it with its 64-round helical magazine. No peanut butter needed for this one. This weapon won't jam in game. The MP7 has a similar fire rate to the MP5. It can have a red dot, and after using it a lot more, it's one of my personal favorites. The Chris Vector would fit into this category if he was in the game. Now into the sniper rifles, of which there are 4. These are dedicated long-range guns. The M82 is one of 3 semi-auto snipers in the game. High recoil, but it hits harder than that one car. But it hits harder than that one car that hit David. It can get an ACOG in place of its scope. The VSS is integrally suppressed and can also fire faster than the M82. Sometimes it'll get an EOTech in place of its scope. The Dragunov is in between the M82 and the VSS. Damage isn't as much as the M82's, but it's higher than the VSS's. Hey, hi, editing me here again. So when I wrote that line in my script, I admittedly didn't know too much about the weapon beforehand. I thought I was just bad at the weapon, but after getting some more input from the community, this thing sucks. The AWM is the only bolt-action sniper in the game. It can have an ACOG, a thermal sight, or iron sights. Now into the shotguns, of which there are 3, technically 4.
Man, I'm dead.
These shine in close quarters, but you can use them at medium ranges if you have slugs. The Supernova is your standard pump-action shotgun, great at close range as all shotguns should be. It can have a suppressor, slugs with an ACOG, or Dragon's Breath. As I said in my first guide, the Spaz 12 is a bit different. It's semi-auto when firing its default buckshot, but it's pump action when firing slugs and Dragon's Breath. The double barrel has the second lowest ammo capacity of any weapon in the game. You only have 2 shots, so make them count. It can have slugs and is sawed off when using Dragon's Breath. And finally, there's a Ballistic Shield. This thing blocks everything, including the largest bullets and even RPGs. Don't ask how that works, shit must be made of netherite or something. Bear in mind that adhesive grenades do stick to it. And if you're wondering how to counter shields, move into their knife and try to get them from behind. They're either forced to try to counter you with their shield or expose themselves by taking out anything else. Now into the secondaries and starting off with the pistols. These, along with the hand cannons, are backup guns. The USP has a slow rate of fire but has quite good damage. Keep in mind its ammo capacity is kind of low. It can also have a suppressor. The Glock in my Rari has a high ammo capacity but has kind of a slow fire rate, which I really wish it didn't have, but I understand it was done for balancing purposes. It has a full auto variant that increases the mag capacity and fire rate. The Makarov is the fastest firing of the semi-auto pistols but has only an 8-round capacity. It has a variant with a red dot. It would also be really funny if they added a variant with the 84-round drum. The 93R is the only burst secondary in the game. It's quite effective, especially when hitting headshots. The Tech 9 is full auto only and has a good fire rate and mag capacity. I quite like it when paired with a sniper rifle so I can have some close range effectiveness. Now into the hand cannons, of which there are 2. First off, the Deagle. It's most effective when hitting headshots, in which it can one-shot too. Low ammo capacity, but that's standard with this class. It has a variant with a red dot, a suppressor, and also has a full auto variant that increases the mag capacity to 10. And like I said in my first guide, your wrist surely won't be intact after using it. The MR73 is your standard revolver from the land of baguettes. 6 shots, single action. Also with a 1-shot to the head potential. This one has 2 variants, one giving it an ACOG turning it into a mini sniper, and the other giving it snake shot turning into a mini shotgun, which I'm quite a fan of. If it's paired with the model 1894, you have the true cowboy loadout. Well, sort of. The MR73 didn't exist until the 70s. And now the projectile weapons, of which there are 2. The crossbow is the one I suck at the most and also has quite a few variants. Regular arrows are self-explanatory. Explosive arrows can act as a pseudo-grenade launcher of sorts. However, they are not as effective as frags when not stuck to your target. Thermite arrows are basically your Minecraft bow enchanted with Flame 1. Gas arrows are storing your target and can be a good arrow denial weapon. Keep in mind that the special arrows can also affect you. Any one of these can also get an ACOG. Also, don't worry about Geneva knocking on your door if you use the gas arrows. This is a game, it's not real. Uh-oh. And finally, the RPG. This thing is very effective, and some might think it's overkill to use this against people, but to me, as long as it works. Just keep in mind that you can't hip fire it, you can blow yourself up, and that flak jackets reduces effectiveness. It's really best if you learn how to use every class of weapon in this game, because again, loadouts are randomized and you don't get a choice as to what you get. Yes, you could replace weapons you're bad at with ones dropped by dead players, but you're not always guaranteed that opportunity. So learn how to use each class, even if it's just enough to kill one guy and take his gun. Some weapons I would like to see in the game are as follows, and these are more based on how cool I think they are and not how they perform in game, but I'll do my best to provide some stats. No, not that stat. The M1014 would be a cool shotgun to have, however I don't really see it being too different from the default SPAS 12. I also don't think a semi-auto Dragonsmith would be balanced unless they decide to exclude it from the gun entirely. The M60, preferably the E6 variant because that one's my favorite, would also be a cool addition. My idea for this one is a slower firing LMG that deals higher damage, and also have a variant of the EOTech like the M249 does. The P90 would also be a cool addition, higher fire rate than the Bison, and has 50 rounds instead of 64. And the Chris Vector. And I'm actually going to give some stats this time and not just say please add it. My idea for this one is that it has the extremely high fire rate and almost non-existent recoil that the real life gun has. However, the trade-off being low damage outside of headshots as well as taking the same mags as the Glock does, therefore low capacity that'll run out quickly. Have a variant with a red dot or an EOTech, and for my more unique suggestion, add a variant that only fires the 2-round burst that the gun has in real life. This one will have their 33-round Glock mag, or even perhaps a full 40 like you can get in Deadline. And if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know the other reason why I want this. And that's about it for this video. I've seen people suggest guide videos on perk combos as well as maps, and my next Bombline video will be on the perks. As for the video on maps, I still need to get a good feel for all of them, and the wiki isn't really too thorough, so it can't really help me on that front. I don't know when I'll be getting those videos out, especially the maps guide. I'm still trying to figure out how to balance schoolwork and this. And also, Xenoblade Chronicles X the 5th edition comes out on the 20th. In saying I've been highly anticipating that game since it was first announced back in October last year is the understatement of the century. Seriously, it's my favorite game of all time, and I've been waiting for a Switch port of Xenoblade X since 2017, and we're getting much more than just that. With that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.
¡Conche tu madre!